Hello, hello. This is Skin Science Applied by Ethist, and I am Amber Champagne. And today we are talking chronic inflammation and skin that won't heal. This is all about why redness, breakouts, things like hyperpigmentation, etc., linger. When most people think of inflammation, they imagine something very obvious: redness, heat, swelling, pain, something visible and unmistakable that clearly signals a problem. But in skin, sometimes the most damaging inflammation is often subtle. It does not always sting or burn. It does not always necessarily look very dramatic. It simply never fully goes away. And when inflammation never resolves, skin cannot truly heal. And you can see that in overinflamed skin, like with really severe cases of acne, etc., because it's visible. It's there for the eye to see. You get lots of that redness, lots of that swelling, lots of those lesions, etc. But that's not always the case. And if skin is unable to complete the healing process, just like with you when you see with acne, no product, no routine, no treatment is going to produce lasting results, no matter how consistent or expensive or cutting edge or whatever it is. Here's the story behind inflammation and how biological skincare, like Ethist, restores balance and helps skin break free from that cycle of chronic inflammation. So there's acute and chronic inflammation, and there's a why in why the difference matters. So inflammation itself is not necessarily the enemy. In fact, it is normal and a necessary biological response. Acute inflammation is short-term and purposeful. It's a necessary biological mechanism that appears when the skin needs to respond to a disruption and quiets down once the job is done. So say, for example, a pimple forms and then it clears. Or you have a mild reaction and it settles within a day or two. Or maybe your skin flushes briefly and then it returns to its baseline. This is inflammation doing exactly what it is designed to do. Chronic inflammation develops when inflammatory signaling stays active long after the initial trigger has passed. And it tends to be lower grade and less obvious, except for in extreme cases, but it quietly keeps the skin in this defensive state. So instead of transitioning into repair, the skin remains on constant alert. Resources that should be directed towards regeneration, barrier building, repair, instead are diverted toward ongoing immune response. So really that's the whole idea in general, is that if you have this chronic inflammation present, what happens is that the concept of healing and making sure that that's repaired and healed and good to go first is going to go on versus trying to actually then do what the skin needs to do in other areas. It's like after you eat and your body puts a lot of resources towards digesting, right? And it's like it kind of takes resources from other systems and directs them toward digestion so that you can get that done in that moment. That's the same kind of concept, very loosely, if you will. So, why do these redness, breakouts, etc., linger? Well, over time, this unresolved inflammatory state starts to interfere with multiple skin functions at once. So now you're going to start seeing, again, it's constantly trying to repair, constantly trying to rebuild, constantly trying to get rid of this inflammation and do some kind of healing. You're not going to see what you need to from a skin perspective. Your barrier, maintenance is going to slow. Your collagen production will be inhibited. And we've seen really great science to actually support this. Even I still have to write that. Well, I've written it mostly. This is just an aside on the collagen study that was done in terms of how collagen actually gets produced. And when you know this information here about chronic inflammation, and then you know that information there about how we're actually seeing that the keratinocytes are signaling the fibroblasts in order to make collagen, you're like, oh yeah, there's there's a clear blockage here. You're not going to see that collagen production like you would because chronic inflammation is in the way, or your cellular turnover becomes inconsistent. Maybe your melanin production becomes more reactive, and that leads to pigmentation that appears without a very clear cause. Although pigmentation in its own right is a whole other beast, and damage from pigmentation is often done early on in life, but then triggered through circumstances like this. Immune signaling lingers when it should have already resolved because that chronic inflammation just needs to get taken care of. So it's like that signaling is then taking over everything. And that's why you don't get the results that you would normally when you have a lot of inflammation in the skin. And that's why redness often fades out almost completely, but then never quite disappears. Or you have breakouts that heal, but then they continue to form in that same area. Maybe, you know, you're trying all these things for your hyperpigmentation, brightening products, maybe hydroquinone and really assertive stuff, and it's lingering longer than expected, or it's gradually worsening instead of improving. Because your skin might look calm on the surface while it's actually reactive underneath. And that's why setting up the right environment for your skin to reduce inflammation consistently is so important. And that's why Ethis is built that way, so that it can put all of your natural systems into their normal functioning and allow your biological natural systems to just work the way that they're supposed to work. Because when skin is responding constantly, it never enters a true resolution phase. And healing, actual healing, true, legitimate healing, depends on that resolution. Without it, your skin is going to remain trapped in this loop of low grade inflammation, unable to fully repair or restore balance. And this is why so many people feel stuck despite that they're, quote, doing everything right. The issue is not effort or consistency, it's that the skin cannot heal while it's perpetually defending itself. Another thing I see a lot is people really trying to aggressively attack the skin, thinking that irritation, like, stinging and burning and all of that, it's progress. But here's why irritation might feel like progress, but actually isn't. This is one of the most common traps in modern skincare. Many products are formulated to create sensation. Tingling, tightness, warmth, and visible redness are treated as signs of efficacy rather than signs of stress. But these reactions are immediate and noticeable. They are often interpreted and sold as evidence that something is happening behind the scenes or behind the surface. What's actually happening, though, is way simpler. The skin is reacting, not repairing. Irritation can temporarily increase blood flow, maybe accelerate cellular turnover, which then can create this appearance of improvement. Skin may look brighter or smoother for a short period of time. That early response is often mistaken for progress, but with repeated irritation, those inflammatory pathways will stay active and they will prevent the skin from transitioning into true recovery. And over time, That constant stimulation causes damage and compromises barrier integrity. That means that sensitivity increases, your recovery slows, and your skin becomes less resilient rather than more resilient. And long-term outcomes, the things you're really looking to get results on, like aging or other surface issues, often worsen as a short-term reaction continues to feel productive. Sensation is not the same as improvement. Feeling something does not mean that your skin is healing. The skin can't heal while it's defending. Skin functions with two primary states. It is either repairing or defending. Chronic inflammation keeps it in defense mode. When the skin remains in that state, adding more actives, increasing strength, switching products, pushing through irritation, all of that leads to diminishing returns. For people who feel like they've tried everything, this is usually the point where their progress stalls entirely because they're like, I don't know what's going on. But healing does not require aggressive suppression of inflammation. It requires allowing the inflammatory response to complete and resolve because it needs to happen. And then that process depends on minimizing disruption, maintaining consistency rather than intensity, and using biological skincare formulations that support the skin without repeatedly triggering immune activation is going to be so helpful because it's going to create that environment that it needs to recover. Calm skin truly provides the environment that skin needs for everything, not just for chronic inflammation, not just for healing, but for all of those results that you're really truly looking to get. Ultimately, the state in which your skin needs to be in pretty much at all times to allow it to do what it needs to do is strong, stable, calm. And you get that kind of environment by replenishing and providing exactly what the skin needs in order for its biological systems to function in their most optimal way. And that's what Ethist does. If you don't know where to get started with Ethist, the easiest place is with our Trinity system. It's a simple 3-step core system designed using the proprietary Champagne standard, which eliminates over 3,200 ingredients that are commonly found in what people call clean beauty, but are known endocrine disruptors, toxins, etc. So it's completely clear and clean, meaning that you can have peace of mind that when the ingredients in the product are actually replenishing your systems, they are doing it in a way that is conducive to your overall health and to the functioning truly of your biological natural skin systems. Go to ethis.com to learn more. Coming next, in the next article, we will explore why aging skin slows and why long-term results come from replenishment, consistency, and daily support rather than intensity or correction.